Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to Unit Lost. I am Stylosa, and in today's video we're going to take a look at the way London Spitfire absolutely demolished Fusion. Now this is a insane game, but what we're going to be looking at here is the DPS duo on Spitfire of Birdring and Prophet, and we're going to see just how they actually did this to Fusion. So guys, I'm going to hand you over to Josh. He is the main man. He is going to give you the breakdown in insane detail on this. This is definitely worth a watch because this just, it's awesome. When I watched this video back, I was like, wow, it is so interesting to see how they actually managed to pull this off. Anyway guys, over to Josh.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to Numbani. Welcome to the final game of the series between Fusion and Spitfire. If you haven't gone and watched this game already, go watch it. Without me rambling over it, go watch it. It won't take you long, trust me. Okay, good, you watched it? Welcome back. Hello. Hi. So why are we watching this game? Because those of you who did see it will know that this was a relatively one-sided series. And well, Josh, you're probably asking, what's the point of watching a stomp? It's because Sty's joined Spitfire and we need to do propaganda for him. No. It's actually none of that. It's because when one team really beats the other one, some interesting things happen, and especially between these two teams. Both Fusion and Spitfire technically play the same style. So what does it mean when one team really beats the other one? Well, it means that one team's executed something very well, and the other team, not so much. So both teams do play this dive style. One team, Fusion, has Carbide and Shadowburn sort of heading up the front line. Both world-class dive players, like they're incredibly skilled, incredibly good players. The other team, Spitfire, of course, has Prophet and Birdring, this sort of dream DPS combo that's emerged from Spitfire and will do amazing things during this series, let me put it that way. So how do you end up in a situation where one team just really locks out the other one? And, well, that's what we're here to find out, right? That's what we're going to be taking a look at. Now, Philadelphia Fusion on the defense is running something a little bit interesting. Most crucially, you will notice that Carpe is running that Doomfist. Now, that's an interesting choice, and one that I am vehemently opposed to. Immensely opposed to. Now, the Doomfist does have some advantages. One of the big things with Numbani is most teams do tend to run a dive comp, so just before the gates open, while Boombox lines up a beauty of grenade that should be able to hit some people, but unfortunately I think it might have just been caught. Finally, Spitfire eventually sorted out the team roster. Nurse is still on Moira. There we go. Now we actually have the locked-in team roster, so now we can take a look at them. Let's talk about these rosters. Let's talk about how this is going to work. So the Doomfist, this controversial Doomfist that I've highlighted. The issue I have with this Doomfist is that, well, first of all, to understand this Doomfist, you have to understand how Numbani works, so don't mind me while I just bring up an empty map and try and show you how it works. So the way Numbani normally operates is that you normally have a team sort of stood here at this back area where they will just be safe from being jumped on. And then when the jump comes in, you will just see teams just drop off that high ground with a Soldier 76, put down a healing field where they can all fight on, and try and pull the dive into a sort of an elongated overextension. When that happens, they can then just try and get a couple of kills very quickly, and then start cleaning up from there. Now, what Doomfist can let you do is he can sort of let you bounce the dive off him. He can sort of punch it away and sort of deflect it a little bit, but if that goes wrong, it'll go wrong very badly. The other thing that Doomfist will have a shortcoming on is range, because he's Doomfist, right? The clue's in the name. He punches people. He doesn't actually shoot people very well. Now, the Doomfist is an interesting pick because he's very high risk, high reward. He could just annihilate someone, but if that doesn't happen, he's often just sort of left high and dry and won't get too much done. Outside of the Doomfist, we have a relatively standard Numbani comp with Boombox opting for the Ana instead of Zenyatta. You can run either or, really. I don't actually rate the Ana super highly without the Soldier 76, just because the Soldier 76 will give you a huge amount of extra healing. If you just combine that heal grenade and the biotic field from Soldier 76, it's next to impossible for a dive to actually kill through all of that healing. So again, there's sort of little bit of a weird sort of anti-synergy happening with these two. Meanwhile, London Spitfire, standard as standard could be. One curious note is that Prophet is playing on the Tracer, so they just wanted a Tracer on this attack, while Birdring is opting for the Soldier 76. So maybe they just rate Birdring Soldier better, I suppose, and so they decided to run Birdring on Soldier and let Prophet play the Tracer. That's really strong flexibility from the team lineup, to be honest. The fact that they can just swap off either or, it's actually pretty powerful, that ability just to go back and forth. But anyway, we're on board with Carpe, because why the hell not? And you can see the punch goes in and he misses because Doomfist's hitboxes are not the greatest in the world, so hey, he just sort of goes through all the tanks and misses absolutely everyone. He then just boops Gesture back, but it's not really making too big of a difference. It's a really nice sort of anti-dive there by Philadelphia Fusion to scoop up Prophet, but during all of this time, Birdring has just managed to set up on this backline here, and crucially gets a kill on Dayfly. Why is this important? Why does this matter so much? Well, when a Mercy is dead, she's not generating ultimate charge, which is kind of a big deal. So during all of this, Nurse is building up tons and tons and tons of ulti charge, while Fusion are not. This is putting Spitfire ahead in the ultimate charge game. Now, Boombox is getting a lot of healing done and will manage to get the nano boost off during this time. That lets Shadowburn draw out the Dragon Blade, get a couple of kills, and clean this fight up. But honestly, them cleaning this fight up cleanly, I don't think is the best thing in the world. It sounds like a strange thing to say, but again, Dayfly is very, very, very behind at this point, and Gesture even gets an exit kill on him just to make sure that he is, well, behind. That also means that they've used this Ana ultimate, so hey, Bedosin doesn't have to worry about having to Transcendence anything, and as such, well, Philadelphia Fusion know they are ahead. Boombox has actually swapped onto Moira for a moment or two, I think, just to get back, but during this time, London Spitfire realizes, hey, we're miles ahead on the ultimate economy, let's just engage using the Transcendence, because I don't need to worry about a Dragon Blade or a Nano Boost or anything like that, and so they can just engage, go super deep, and clean up without issue. And that's that. That's literally as simple as that. Prophet can just get into the backline, just explode everybody, gets a little bit lucky with the pulse bomb in cleaning up 2 people with 1 bomb, but still, it's that simple. It's just playing out the economy game. Fusion not using these resources, not cycling these resources appropriately, lets London Spitfire have a clear and open field to just push forward. So as second point starts to roll out, there's a couple of things that are happening in sort of the backline. Boombox has now finally swapped back to that Zenyatta, but he's been swapping so much, sort of trying to figure out, you know, can I get back to the point with Moira? Maybe I need the fast rollout to get there. And then, you know, swapping all over the place, starting out on the Ana, going to Zen, going to Moira. He's been all over the place, and now finally he's going to be starting to build up this ultimate, but crucially Spitfire know that there's 2 Valkyries on the field, right? They know that this Valkyrie threat is there, so they're going to just take this nice and slowly. So their positioning is very defensive. They're not diving super deep. They're just letting Philadelphia engage, and they're just sort of pulling back a little bit, using that Soldier 76 healing field, providing support to each other, and then finally going to start getting a couple of kills. This is purely just to bait out the Valkyries. Valkyries have now gone off on both sides, and so people are just going to be rezzed. Any kills that are happening now, it doesn't really matter. But now Spitfire have a huge advantage because Boombox is that little bit behind, and sure, he's Boombox. He's good. Don't get me wrong. He's amazing at Zenyatta. He can build it super fast, but it means that Birdring has a clear pathway now to use this tactical visor to start mopping people up and start getting a couple of kills, and if they need it, then Bedosin can go ahead and use this Transcendence just to wrap up this second fight. So it's just very, very simple, very, very easy to do. Now, Poco commits suicide. I really don't like this decision. When you're playing defense, surely the best way to die is just to slow down the payload and stay on the payload. You saw Rogue do this. Rogue of old used to be really, really good about doing this, where they would just continually stay on the payload, just drag out fights, slow it down, slow it down, slow it down, and that gave their team time to regroup and time to just continue contesting the point further down the line. It made sure that they got these second and third fights, and it's a sign that Philadelphia Fusion, it's all starting to sort of unweave for them. The target focus is starting to sort of slow down. Birdring swapped to the Genji, and now he's just going in deep, and the dive is just going to push all the way to spawn. This is typical for how dive plays. Like, you usually see this where they will just, once they get an advantage, they will push all the way to spawn, and they will just keep leveraging that aggression. They realize that, hey, Fusion are just regrouping inside the spawn, so let's just back off a tiny itty bitty bit and then just get ready to go in for the dive again. They know that they still have advantages, but they know that Boombox has also hasn't used that Transcendence for a while, so there's a good chance that he's going to have it available to him. Very nice pick onto Froggy. Again, Froggy's over-aggression just sort of starting to cost them a little bit here. Gesture goes down, but he's down close enough to where he can perhaps get picked up, so it's not the biggest deal in the world. Poco with another bomb that kills people. I don't know how he does it every time. It's pretty crazy. Poco's been doing extremely well. Birdring has been playing in a really, really cool style. Birdring's definitely one of these Genjis that does seem to use his left click a lot, and manages to get a lot of results with it as well. It's really, really cool to see how he just uses those constantly just to get damage, even from long range, where a lot of Genjis tend to over-rely slightly, perhaps, on the right click, but Birdring can definitely sort of be a threat at range. It's just clean, crisp dive. They're just constantly finding single targets, isolating them, and then 3 people are appearing and killing them off nice and quickly. And okay, welcome to London Spitfire's defense. You'll notice that Spitfire's team comp isn't too different from, well, what Fusion ended up running. This is a standard Numbani defensive composition using Soldier and Ana, and using, well, a pretty much standard dive regiment as well, with Prophet on Tracer, Gesture on the Winston, and Fury on the Diva with Mercy thrown in. Fury just being a little bit further forward, enjoying a couple of video games, clearly, as he just ranges forward just to get a bit of scouting information. Fusion, meanwhile, running standard as standard could be. This is what the team comp that you expect to see out of Fusion. Like, this is the team comp I like seeing out of Fusion. Fusion look good when they run this team comp. Now, there's 1 or 2 little details here. You can see it here relatively clearly. If you see all these little white outlines, this is why I wish that I had that little minimap overlay that the casters had. This is the curious thing to me here. This is Tracer and Ana. Hopefully this shows up well enough for you guys to see. This is an unconventional place for Ana to be. Usually you expect the Ana to be over here with the soldier so that healing grenade can sort of benefit with the soldier healing, and these guys are all completely safe over here. Having the Ana over here though is interesting. It's going to have some interesting results, so let's roll it forward. Otherwise, you're going to see Fusion just execute a pretty standard dive comp. You can see the Tracer there on the left, just sort of Prophet going just to go and irritate Carpe, try and slow him down as the Tracer tries to wend her way around the back. Very, very interesting little jump by Fraggy that ends up getting pushed off the high ground, unfortunately, by Fury. Just gets sort of nudged down. And curiously, Bedosian gets the kill on Dayfly. And I like to imagine that this is a mixture of having Prophet on the sidelines just occupy Carpe, and then Bedosian has enough time just to snipe down poor Dayfly. Now, Nus does go down as well, which is, relatively similar to what happened on that first push that we saw Spitfire do, rather, where they managed to kill the enemy Mercy, but crucially both Mercies went down, so you end up in a stalemate situation, right? Neither Mercy really gets a huge advantage over the other one, and so it doesn't make a huge amount of difference. Crucially, Spitfire just managing to stay alive long enough, and honestly, that's the fight where you're going to see the most eliminations happen. And that's very, very interesting. Spitfire take very, very few limbs. Let's see if you can try and count them all, because trust me, you can count them on one hand, ladies and gentlemen. So again, just very, very defensive positioning out of Spitfire. You can see how far back these supports are standing with the Soldier 76 as well. There's a lot of healing there, so they don't really want to dive into that. But during all of this time, they're just not doing anything. It's just given enough time for Gesture to just go find Boombox and just kill him. And this is sort of the thing that I noticed with Fusion during this latter half. I don't know whether it's a broken spirit, I don't know whether it's just a lack of clear shot calling, but they just don't seem to go. I'm going to try and bring up like a picture-in-picture here of what Shadowburn was doing during that entire attack, because he literally just goes to the high ground, jumps around once or twice, throws a couple of shurikens, and then backs out. And that's not what you want to see out of your Genji, that's not what you want to see out of him. Okay, I just wanted to sort of bring it back and sort of slow it down here, because a couple of cool things are about to happen. The biggest thing I want to draw you guys' attention to is the fact that Dayfly has ultimate ready. Fusion actually have a pretty solid advantage at this point. They have Valkyrie available to them, while Nus does not. Now you might say, hey, Birdring's probably going to have Tac Visor, so maybe Birdring can sort of cancel this out. But it's not sort of the biggest issue in the world when you have Shadowburn with Dragonblade available. So technically speaking, Fusion have an advantage at this point. The issue I have is that I don't think Fusion realize they have this advantage. Now, how Spitfire handle the disadvantage that they're at, they know that Fusion have Valkyrie available to them. They've sort of been keeping track of these ultimates. I'd be shocked if they didn't. Nus knows that he needs to build up a little bit of ultimate charge here. And the way that Spitfire handle this is they go, well, Fusion isn't engaging, so let's just go and find Boombox and kill him. This is just buying time for Nus to build up a little bit of ultimate charge. Damage is being done to Fury. The moment that Valkyrie becomes available, Nus activates it, picks up Gesture. Everyone just scrambles on Spitfire, just sort of spreads out, takes the time, slows it down. And this is sort of the cool thing about Spitfire, is that anytime that a dive is going somewhere, it just feels like everyone is sort of lost on Fusion. They're sort of chasing people around. All of this time, Prophet is just killing people. He's just finding people and just killing them non-stop. So it's like the dive is chasing one person, while the dive's chasing one person, it doesn't matter because the other people are just moving in to get kills. And that's insanely good play from Spitfire. They know that they can sort of, as individuals, they can just sort of run around and absorb time and absorb pressure. And during that time, the rest of the team is just doing their jobs. It's just going in and finding people and killing people. When they have sort of no one chasing them down, Birdring is just going to kill everyone. If Prophet's available just to run around and hound people, he's just going to go and do that. And that's insanely good. Now then, everything's sort of on the cards for Fusion. They've got to get something done now. Fraggy just jumps up to this high ground area, and I'm not really sure in aid of what. He activates Primal Raise and then goes and chases down Birdring of all people. Birdring just sprints off into the distance, just runs around the houses, doesn't really make a difference. And like I said, it doesn't matter here because during all of this time, Prophet's sort of available. Dragonblade gets completely nullified in the sort of the Zenyatta stand of Transcendence is off on both sides, so Dragonblade gets nothing, and Fury just cleans up. And time again, during all of these pushes, you start to see the same thing happening. Spitfire start out relatively spread out, relatively sort of safe in positioning. Fusion might slowly engage, but wherever they engage, basically Spitfire just send in the rest of the team somewhere else just to go and get a couple more kills. And if they take too long engaging, Spitfire's just going to punish them and get something started on their own. Again, you can see they've isolated out Poco. Fury's again come in, pushed Poco off that high ground, isolated him, trying to set him up for a kill. He has managed to use the bomb just to get himself a mech again, but again, Birdring, relatively free, can just do a lot of damage. When he starts getting focus, he'll start focusing more on evasion. Nus comes in just to support him and keep him healed. During this entire final fight, no one on Spitfire died. absolutely no one died. They're just sort of spreading out, playing evasively, isolating targets, and killing them off so systematically and so cleanly that that is the sign of a dive being played extremely well. So at the end of the day, what happened to Fusion? I honestly would like to know. I imagine it's slightly sort of stressed. They come out the back of this series. It's been very, very punishing for them, and the shot calling just doesn't seem to have been there. They just don't seem that their decisive, aggressive selves that I would have liked to see. Philadelphia Fusion are a team that I honestly think could do okay. They play an extremely aggro style, but again, London Spitfire basically repeating the same storyline they had in the preseason with San Francisco Shock. San Francisco Shock, an underrated team, came in, played extremely well in the first match, went up against Spitfire, and Spitfire just pulled them to pieces, finding out what made the team work and what made the team tick, and basically cleaned them out. Extremely good play out of London Spitfire, and very, very good tactical play out of these guys. Now then guys, week 2 does approach and Spitfire have 2 amazingly good games coming up against LA Valiant and Dallas Fuel. Can't wait to see those games, and we'll probably be breaking down one of them for you here on the channel. Do let me and Sty know on Twitter as the games do roll out which one you would rather see us do, because I cannot wait. Thank you for watching to the end. I have been Josh, as one voice amongst many, and I'll see you guys next time.